محمد رسول الله محمد رسول الله.
بسم الله الذي لا إله سواه الواحد الأحد الفرد الصمد الذي لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله كما صليت وسلمت وباركت على سيدنا إبراهيم وعلى آل سيدنا إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من علم لا ينفع ومن قلب لا يخشع ومن نفس لا تشبع ومن دعاء لا يسمع. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. As we know, the Quran is a journey. The Quran and the recitation of the Quran is a journey through the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wa sallam was given in a way a miracle of words. A miracle of words, words that are projections of the speech of the Divine subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in this first portion of our dhikr, we are journeying through the Quran together. And it's very interesting that the first step in the journey through the Quran is called Surah Al-Fatiha. The surah that is a Fatiha. Fatiha from Fataha Yaftahu, which means to open. Miftah, as you know, is a key. So Fatiha literally translated as the opener. The opener, that which opens. And that which, another name of Fatih or meaning of Fatih is that which grants victory, that which grants success. So Surah Fatiha is a key to begin the journey of the Quran. It's a key to begin the journey of the Quran and a key to the, we can say, success in that journey with our minds, our hearts, our emotions, through the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in Surah Fatiha, as all of us read it so many times every day, this key to the guidance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this key to success in this dunya, in this world and in the akhirah. The essence of Al-Fatiha is a dua. And the essence of that dua is to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for guidance. Ihdina, Ya Allah, we ask you to guide us. Ihdina. We ask Allah ta'ala to guide us to the straight path. Ihdina as-sirata al-mustaqim. Guide us to the straight path. The path that leads to you. The path that is the surest, quickest way to you. The path that is straight, not the path that is crooked, not the path that is meandering, not the path that doesn't reach our goal. We want the straightest, fastest, quickest way to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we want a path that is safe, a path that has been walked by others before us, much better than me, much better than me. the paths of whom Allah Ta'ala has showered His bounty on. الَّذِينَ أَنْعَمْتَ عَلَيْهِمْ. That path, the path walked by the salihun, the righteous, the path walked by the awliya, the saintly, beloved ones of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The path walked by the anbiya, path walked by the anbiya of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the path walked by the messengers, the rusul, and ultimately the path walked by the greatest of them all, Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. And the path has to be mustaqim, straight, correct. The idea also in istiqamah is balanced. If we say, shay'un yastaqim, it's something which is properly balanced, it's sound. So we ask for this guidance. And then in that guidance I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not the path, not the way of those who did not walk a straight path. Those who did not live a life of, because the path is meant to be a life. If I walk a path, it means, metaphorically, my life is one of istiqamah. My life leads to Allah. My life is balanced. My life is sound. And then we ask Allah Ta'ala for refuge from those who walked the path before us, who were early Muslims, and then deviated from that straight path to innovate, to manufacture a path that was not straight. And we reference, as you know, in this dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not the path of the people of the book who came before us, each of whom walked the path in an innovated way that was incorrect. And then after I ask for this guidance from Allah Ta'ala through the key of Al-Fatiha, through the key of Surah Al-Fatiha, then, if you like, as a response to my dua, the rest of the Quran comes. As a response to me asking for guidance. Help me, show me how to live a path that is straight. Then the rest of the Quran comes as a response to that. And even the dua is Quran, because the dua is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah Ta'ala inspires me through His words the right way to ask and what to ask for. The question, the entreaty is from Allah Ta'ala, and the giving and the request is from Him subhanahu as well. And then the Quran begins with Surah Al-Baqarah. And then as I journey through Surah Al-Baqarah, the very first concepts that Allah Ta'ala alerts me to and draws my attention to is, as you know, Alif Lam Mim, ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. This is a guidance for the righteous. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives a description of those who are al-muttaqin and who certainly receive guidance and therefore live a life of istiqamah, a life of balance, a life pursuing happiness and noble freedom. الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ. Those who believe in Al-Ghayb. That's the first characteristic of the Muttaqin. They believe in the Ghayb. Ghayb, from Ghaba, Yaghibu, is that which is unseen, that which I don't have access to, the Ghayb. Ghayb is that which I don't see, I don't have access to directly or immediately. That's Ghayb. The Ghayb. When we speak in Arabic, the second person is called, the pronoun of address. Someone that is mukhatab, he's addressed. The third person that we're speaking about, who is not being addressed, we are referring to someone. That's damirul ghaib. That's a pronoun that refers to someone who is in the ghaib, if you like, in a relative way. Someone who's not being addressed. I don't have immediate interaction with them. They are ghaib, they are away. That meaning of ghaib, most of existence that we know, material existence, interestingly enough, is the Ghayb in a relative sense. The universe is something like 93 billion light years in diameter. 93 billion light years. And what we know of the universe, what we experience, what we know of the known universe is nothing. It's like a grain of sand in the desert. That's our quote unquote known world. Most of it is unknown. Most of it, relatively speaking to me, is Ghayb. Relatively speaking to me is Ghayb. I don't know it. All I know of the universe is a grain of sand in a vast desert. Ghayb. Most of existence, and I think this must be an error in calculation, they say 95% of existence we don't know anything about. And it must be more. If we don't know anything fundamentally about 93 billion light years, it's not that we know 5% of all of existence. That's a gross overcalculation. And they say, according to their estimates, which they must admit, but even in this sort of, I think, exaggerated way, to exaggerate what we know versus what we don't know, most of what we don't know, most of what we know is actually what we don't know, and that is Ghayb from us, that is unseen from us. And that other 95%, they say, we don't know what particles exist. What other particles upon particles upon particles exist. Every time they find more particles, they find more particles. And they keep finding particles going not into the macro, but into the micro. Going into the atom at the quantum world, going into the most smallest space. They keep finding more expanse as though it is infinite. So what about the macro? If that's the micro, what about the macro? And they say that we don't know what forces, what natural physical forces exist in all of that which is unknown. We know gravity, we know this, we know that, but what exists in the expanse of the unknown? The point being that, relatively speaking, most of our existence is Ghayb. relatively speaking, most of our existence we don't have access to. Relatively speaking, it's ghayb. And therefore, it is a very logical conclusion that there exists more ghayb. If there exists so much ghayb in our material existence, there must exist other ghuyub, other ghaybi dimensions. And that's a natural extension, I think, of what we know. So the believer believes in the ghayb. And that belief in the ghayb is a feature of modern life that's becoming more and more rare. Less and less people believe in the ghayb. Less and less people religiously truly believe in the ghayb and have a certainty about the ghayb. And why is that? Because as I live in dunya, and dunya, the word of dunya, means that which is close. Dunya, the root of dunya is that which is close to me. If we say udnu, come close, be close to me. Dunya is that which is most immediate, most accessible. What that means is most accessible to my senses and my experience. That which I can see, that which I can hear, that which I can touch. The more we are in dunya, and the less I am reminded of what is beyond the dunya, and the less that I remind myself of what is beyond dunya, the more dunyawi I will become. Because dunya is that which is most immediate. It's in my face. It's what I see, it's what I experience. And if I don't remind myself constantly, regularly, of the other world, of the higher world, of another reality, I will forget that reality. I will lose touch with that reality. And what will become real for me is only what I see, what I hear, and what I can touch. And that is the trend of human civilization, to lose touch with the real nature of things, to lose touch with the real reality of existence. Because even though what I know of this material world is almost nothing, imagine all of this material world relative to the ghayb. That is nothing. And the only way that I, as a human being, can make sense of my existence is to understand my existence in the envelope of all of existence. Remember the example of a jigsaw puzzle. 3,000 pieces, 5,000 pieces. Imagine I only had one piece. And that's all I saw was one piece. In a 5,000 piece puzzle, what sense does that one piece make? I can't see the picture. I don't know where to put it. I don't know where to start. I have no idea what the picture, the big picture, what the reality of the puzzle is. I have no idea. All I see is simply color without design, features without order, things without meaning. It's only when The other 4,999 pieces are given to me, collected, that I can make sense of where that piece fits into the broad scheme of the puzzle, and therefore, for our purposes, the broad scheme of life. Without ghayb, there is no real life. Life has no meaning. It is ghayb that gives life meaning. What's the purpose of life? What exists? Only me? Do I have only free will, or is there something called qada and qadar? Is it only me living, or are malaika around me as we sit here in this masjid? How does it feel like to know I'm not alone? And that without doubt there are malaika. There are malaika all around us now. When you learned that, how did you feel? When you knew that next to you is a malak, and there are malaika in this assembly, how did you feel? How did you understand the meaning of why we're here? What did it do to your mind, your heart, your emotions? It does a lot to know the big picture. الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ. They believe in the ghayb. They believe in the ghayb. If they don't believe in the ghayb, if the human being does not believe in the ghayb, they will not believe in the aql. They will not believe in the intellect. The aql cannot be seen. The mind cannot be seen. They will not believe in the ruh. The ruh cannot be observed. They will not believe in values, akhlaq. Akhlaq cannot be studied, cannot be seen, are not part of material reality. Haya, what's haya? Haqq, what's haqq? Modesty, sensitivity, what is that? That doesn't have a reality in my tiny, incorrectly perceived world. Truth, what truth? Truth is not real for me as I see it. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَيُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةَ وَيُؤْتُونَ الزَّكَاةَ وَهُمْ بِالْآخِرَةِ هُمْ يُوقِنُونَ. Allah ta'ala says they believe in the ghayb. And the ghayb is very rational. It's very rational. It's a logical extension of our experience in one way, like we said. And as a consequence of believing in the ghayb, because the wahi comes from Allah Ta'ala, because I know that I will never know. I know in my material existence, most of my material existence I have no clue about. And as I mature in life, I learn. I don't even know what the cause of my allergy is. If I have an allergy, I don't even know what the cause of it is. It's unseen. And even the medical analysis is not ironclad. It's possibilistic, probabilistic. Oftentimes, they don't know. So I know I don't know. I know I cannot be the reference for understanding my world. My instruments are too faulty, are too deficient, are too inadequate. Therefore, I have to inquire and accept another way of knowing. I have to accept another way of knowing, not merely from my senses. And I accept wahi, another way of knowing, another way of learning, another way of ilm. And wahi comes and it expands my world. Wahi comes and it expands my world. Now I don't live with my mind and heart. Ponder this. I don't live with my mind and heart in a grain of sand in a vast desert. Where do I live? I live in the the vast desert. I live in the unseen. My heart is there. My feelings are there. My thoughts are there. My life, my heart, my life, my feelings, my horizon, my goals are not confined to a grain of sand. They are potentially, practically infinite. Practically infinite. And Jannah is infinite. And I seek the infinite. Jannah never ends. I seek the never-ending happiness, never-ending comfort, never-ending soundness and beauty. So wahi comes and it expands my world. And the response of the believer now, الَّذِينَ يُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةِ, they establish salah. So الَّذِينَ يُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةِ, they make iqama of salah. Iqama, to establish prayer, to establish it, to anchor it, meaning to pray externally, to pray internally. I anchor my salah in my mind, my heart. My heart is anchored in salah. I'm aware, I'm present with my mind, with my emotions, with my heart, present. And my body is performing it in the most beautiful way. Now that iqama of salah is necessary for the istiqama of life. Because I asked for a sirat al-mustaqim. And to do that, I must make iqama, the same root word. I must make iqama of salah. And that comes, hafidhukumullah, right after Al-Ghayb. Because if I do not remember and make an effort to remember and establish ibadah and work and do, I will not connect to the Ghayb. To keep that connection to the real world, to the full existence, I have to keep remembering. الَّذِينَ يُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةِ, and they establish salah. They believe in the Ghayb, and to keep that, I'm going to say that, to keep the belief in the Ghayb, to keep it fresh, to keep the Ghayb real in my life, to keep the Ghayb close to me, to order my world in light of the reality of the Ghayb, I have to make iqama of salah. And therefore, الَّذِينَ يُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةِ, I break from this world 5 times a day, at least, to reconnect with the Ghayb. And salah is, for those of us who did the module of tazkiyah, salah is also, the awliya say, as-salatu, underline or space, mu'min. As-salatu, mi'rajul mu'min. Salah is exactly entering into the Ghayb. Salah is to keep me connected to the Ghayb. It's my ascension out of the narrow, granular confines of my existence into the expanse of the Ghayb. الَّذِينَ يُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةِ, to keep the relationship with the Ghayb fresh, real, to thin the veil between me and the Ghayb, so that the veil between me and the Ghayb doesn't become thick. And dunya is thick. Matter is thick. Matter is dense. Matter has kathafa, it's dense. If I'm not penetrating through matter and connecting with the subtleties of the other world, this world will become all that I see and know and feel and believe, and I will live the life of a kafir. Alhamdulillah, I'm not a kafir. but I will live the life of a kafir. And the life of a kafir is one who, kufr, to cover, they cover what? They cover the ghayb. They cover the ghayb. They cover many things, but fundamentally they cover the ghayb. That's what the kafir does. She covers the ghayb. And so, there is no ghayb for them anymore. Only, matter. And if I don't regularly keep contact with the ghayb through salah and the iqamah of salah, not just to pray, but to perform my prayer, iqamah of salah. And that iqamah means, in my salah, I connect with the ghayb. Otherwise, it's not salah. If I pray, and I'm still here in this dense world, and my heart and feelings did not go beyond, what's the value of that salah practically? It's not the mi'raj. Did I travel? Where did I travel? I didn't travel. I was stationary. I didn't travel to the beyond. I didn't enter into, if you like, the ghayb with my mind, with my heart, with my feelings, with my attachments. So Allah Ta'ala says, الَّذِينَ يُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةِ. These believers who believe in the ghayb, who accept wahi, which expands their world. The first thing that they do, practically speaking, is they do salah. They engage in dhikr of Allah Ta'ala. They take means to keep connected and to understand the broader existence. And that broader existence, it's not just an alternate reality. It's not just, an additive reality to this world. The ghayb is not just another addition. The ghayb affects this world. The ghayb conditions this world. The malaika are in the ghayb, yes, but they're also here. They're here. The ghayb interacts, the ghayb intersects with this world. It's ghayb, but it's here. The jinn, they're in the ghayb, but they're also with us. There's an intersection of ghayb and dunya. We're connected. And so to believe in the ghayb is to profoundly change my world. Part of that is the arkan of iman tell me, in this world of mine, God is. Could a world change any more than that? There's an infinite being of justice, of beauty, of majesty that is part, quote unquote, of my understanding of existence. Suddenly, there are angels in my world. These creatures of light. There's angels not only in my world here, but also on my shoulders, with me, all the time. There are angels in every space, in sujood and dhikr, in the intersection of that world and this world. That changes everything, the idea of ghayb. And therefore salah is meant to change everything. Salah is the ultimate entry point and connection point with the ghayb. الَّذِينَ يُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةَ. They establish salah, iqamah, for istiqamah. وَيُؤْتُونَ الزَّكَاةَ. And then Allah Ta'ala says, the Quran is so majestic. It's so beautiful. We could just reflect. We could just reflect with this, and it wouldn't exhaust the meanings of the Quran, a drop in an infinite ocean. And then Allah Ta'ala says, these people who believe in the ghayb and then connect with the ghayb practically by salah, وَيُؤْتُونَ الزَّكَاةَ, and they give zakah. What does that have to do with the ghayb? Because they're realizing it's owned by Allah. Resources, power, wealth, things, There's a right that attaches to my wealth because it's not owned by me. It's owned by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I have it only as an amana. If my wealth was mine in the independent sense of the word, why must I give it away? If I owned it, if it was mine, if I was an autonomous economic actor, why would I have to give it away? It's mine. I own it. I dispense with it as I please. Because, this is my property. This thing, this material thing, I own. No. The believer, because they believe in the Ghayb, they believe in the Wahi, they believe in Allah as the Rabb, the wealth I have is not mine. I'm given it as an amana. And even then, a temporary amana. And I'm going to have to give it back. And when I die, if it was only mine, it will be buried with me. My stocks, my bonds, my this, my that. No. Who dispenses of my inheritance? Who tells me who gets what? Not me. Fundamentally, Allah gives me a haqq of wasiyah for a rahmah of His, limited as it is, but the rest of my wealth, Allah decides where it goes. It doesn't belong to me. الَّذِينَ يُؤْتُونَ الزَّكَاةَ الَّذِينَ يُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةَ وَيُؤْتُونَ الزَّكَاةَ, and they give zakah. They have to, because this existence doesn't belong to them. The wealth does not belong to them. They believe in the Ghayb. And then, وَهُمْ بِالْآخِرَةِ هُمْ يُوقِنُونَ. وَهُمْ بِالْآخِرَةِ هُمْ يُوقِنُونَ. And they, in akhirah, in what the Ghayb tells us lies of ultimate Ghayb. Akhirah is like ultimate Ghayb. There's Ghayb, and then there's what it all is going to finally end at. The ultimate Ghayb. They are, in Akhirah, they are yuqinun. They are certain. They have yaqeen. They have yaqeen. And partly, for our practical purposes, hafidhukumullah, they have yaqeen because Salah, because zakah, they believed in the Ghayb. And then they're doing, it's amal. They're keeping that connection. Ibadat, dhikr, dua, sadaqah, watching their akhlaq, muraqabah of Allah Ta'ala, salawat on Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, reading Quran. They're keeping that connection. And as they're keeping that connection, as we learned in the Tazkiyah module, the heart is clearing. Tazkiyah is happening. Tazkiyah is happening. The heart is clearing. And when the heart clears, the heart sees. When the heart sees, it sees what the eyes cannot see. The vision of the heart with the nur of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala penetrates through matter, beyond matter. And then they see with their hearts. Before they saw with their intellects, rationally, Ghayb exists. Rationally, Akhirah exists. And then they now have yaqeen. They have certainty that Akhirah exists. And then they live in this dunya as though Akhirah not only is real, but what? is more real than dunya. And it is. As though akhirah is more real than dunya. If a believer faces a trial, a test, a difficulty, a pain, an anguish, a torment, what certainty in what gives them the ability to move beyond that, not be stopped by that, transcend that. Because that pain, that suffering, that harm, that hurt is not as real as the life to come. This is passing. That is lasting. This is temporary. That is permanent. This hurts, but the reward of it will make the hurt insignificant and extinguished. Allah Ta'ala takes a man, and Allah Ta'ala dips a man into Jahannam, a dip, and then asks him, and this man lived all of his life in pleasure after pleasure. And Allah says, did you enjoy in that previous life any happiness after one dip in Jahannam? And the man says, no, Ya Allah. I had no happiness with a dip in Jahannam. A man who suffered after suffering, life of constant suffering, constant torment, constant pain, constant hurt, constant torture. Allah dips them into Jannah and asks, did you suffer anything in that life of yours? And he says, nothing. I suffered nothing. Because the life that we live relative to that life is forgettable. It's like it's no life. And when I have yaqeen in the Ghayb, and when the veil to the Ghayb thins, and my heart becomes expansive now in and connected to the realities of the other world, how balanced will I live? How happy will I be? How content will I be? How optimistic will I be? How patient will I be? How committed will I be? How strong will I be? How firm will I be? How much would I love Salah? How much would I love dhikr? How much would I love dua? And those are, as we remind ourselves through these beginning ayat of Surah Al-Baqarah, those are the means in this world that we stay connected to the Ghayb. We don't stay connected to the Ghayb just because I would like to in my mind. If I'm not doing work to continue to connect and reconnect, I will disconnect because of the nature of entropy. The entropy for the Muslim is an entropy that makes him or her forget the Ghayb and set their sights and their minds and their feelings and their aims on this world only. And then gradually, because of that, let's call it Ghaybi drift, the drift away from Ghayb, the Ghaybi drift, then I may find myself living the life, وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ, not believing, but living practically the life of a kafir, who evaluates, who sees, who wants, who desires, who knows only dunya. And the veil between him or her and akhirah has become so thick gradually, that there's now no access to it emotionally. There's no door to it emotionally. It's like between him and her and the Ghayb is steel. It's become so dense, like lead. Like lead. And then practically I live as though there is no other world. And the way to keep doors and windows connected to the Ghayb is by Salah, as the ayah says, by zakah, knowing that it's not mine. This is not mine, belongs to Allah Ta'ala. He's the owner. I don't have economic autonomy or individual autonomy and possessive autonomy over everything. By dhikr, I remind myself and you, by majalis of dhikr, by majalis of ilm, by sitting with Quran, by making my dua, by connecting with the Ghayb in my salawat, on Rasulullah, indeed, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and in salawat, the salawatul khams to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All of those are the means by which we keep those attachments to the Ghayb. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us in this world. Help us and our children and our families, our loved ones, our dear ones, to keep the attachments and to keep the connection to the Ghayb and not become distant from it. May it always be for us thin. May our life be a thinning of the veil. May our lives be a thinning of the veil of the Ghayb. And may we at some point in our lives live as though it is more real than this world is. And that is Ihsan. That is Ihsan. And the path to Allah Ta'ala is the path of the arkan of Iman, those arkan that give me the context of my existence, that tells me the broader scope of my existence, not that grain, but the entire Ghayb. And then, from the arkan of Iman to the arkan of Islam, to act, to keep connection with Iman, and then finally, Ihsan. And Ihsan is to worship Allah like you see Him. Also, to see the Ghayb as though to feel the Ghayb, the intersection of the Ghayb in my life, as though I see it, as though I see Jannah, as though I see Nar, as though I see angels, as though I'm aware that Allah sees me. May Allah Ta'ala grant us that, and may Allah Ta'ala make our suhbah and the moments we spend together, whether in ilm or whether in dhikr, may it always be moments to thin the veil between me and the Ghayb and between me and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.